Hey, welcome to Poetry Slice. I'm Jess. I thought it'd be cool to do some short readings of poems that I've recently been enjoying and talk about them for a little bit. Today we'll be reading a couple of poems from Chen's When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a List of Further Possibilities. The first poem is called Chapter 8. Autumn was an argument about hair and how much of it. Too much, not enough, just right, but just for now, and then it was winter. The licorice of every season was rather inappropriate. Well, okay, how about this? And you put on more of my deodorant. What can one do but put on more deodorant? Paris, lopsided, was still Paris. A congregation, a conflagration. A smiling conundrum in the form of a ladder it takes years to climb down. In our last ever Scrabble game, you changed my whore into horde. I tried to ask my parents to leave the room, but not my life. It was very hard. Because the room was the size of my life. Because my life was small. And wanted to eat candy corn instead of confrontation. Raising one's voice in a small space felt at once godlike and childish. You agreed with me out of a practical concern, and I loved you for it. We were two horses in search of the least abandoned constellation. But the night sky was overtaken by the beatitude of the ultimate horse. Also, Bennett upset Wes with his choice of neckties, but then the author decided it would all be better in second person, actually. When did I first realize my parents were not infinite? That I could see the end of them, past their capes and catchphrases. One day in 4th grade, my teacher said, "You're lucky to be so young. You'll heal up from that bicycle accident in no time. No scars. No time. No scars. Sing it with me. Loud as Reykjavik summer. Easy as my Etch-a-Sketch when I made a mistake. I will try my best not to mistake you for my parents. I mean my problems with my parents. I mean me. Believe with me another melody. That the room, the life could go by a different light and we could say hello, meaning gentleness with all our might." Okay, so I really like that poem. Overall, I really like his poems, but I think I've learned a lot about voice from him specifically and the way he talks about things, which I think you can tell just from listening to the first one. How he thinks about certain things in his poems, then comes to them later. It's very strange and like meandering and really beautiful. And I think why I love his poems so much is because they're very perfect in being specific. And obviously we all connect with different writers and poems because of their subject matter, but also because of the strange way that individual experiences that aren't our own transform us in like pretty regular but sometimes very powerful ways. So more so than I would say like a generalized experience. Like I think they both have their place when you're reading stuff, but sometimes specificity is good for understanding your own circumstances in a weird way. The next poem is called Poem in Noisy Mouthfuls, which I think was the first ever Chen poem that I ever read. Can't stop eating you movie-style extra butter microwave popcorn. Can't stop watching you rented movie about an immigrant family from Lebanon. Can't help but weep seeing the family wave goodbye to relatives in the Beirut airport, tear salt mixing with popcorn salt. Can't hide my mess, myself from the friend beside me. Can't answer his question, does it remind you of your family, leaving China? I want to say, no, it's completely different, which in many ways it is, but really, I'm remembering what a writer friend once said to me. All you write about is being gay or Chinese. How I can't get over that, and wonder if it's true, if everything I write is in some way an immigrant narrative or another coming out story. I recall a recent poem featuring fishmongers in Seattle, and that makes me happy. Clearly that one isn't about being gay or Chinese. But then I remember a significant number of Chinese immigrants live in Seattle, and how I found several of the Pike Place fishmongers attractive when I visited. So I guess that poem's about being gay and Chinese too. So I say to my friend, I'm not sure, and keep eating the popcorn. Thank God we chose the giant family-sized bag. Can't stop the greasy handfuls, noisy mouthfuls. Can't eat popcorn quietly. Later, during my friend's smoke break, still can't come up with a worthy response to his radical queer critique of homonormativity, of monogamy, domesticity, front lawn glory. These middle-class gays picking out garden gnomes, ignoring all the anti-racist work of decolonization that still needs to be done. Don't you think they're lame? I say, yeah, for sure. But think, marriage, house, 1 kid, 2 cats, how long have I wanted that? Could I give that up in the name of being a real queer? Probably can't. And it's like another bad habit I can't give up. Eating junk, can't. Procrastinating, can't. Picking scabs, can't. Being friends with people who challenge my beliefs and life plans, can't. Reading and believing in Ayn Rand, though, can. Brief phase as a Christian because I like the cross as an accessory, can. WWJD, can. White heterosexist patriarchy, can. America, can't. Can't help but think, when we get back to the movie, how it was my father's decision to move here, not my mother's, just like the parents on screen. Can't stop replaying my mother's walk onto the plane, carrying me, though I was getting too old for it, holding me, my face pressed into her hair, her neck, as she cried quietly. Can't stop returning to the scene of leaving, can't stop pausing the scene, thinking I've left something out again. Something else my mother told me. Like my grandmother at the airport, how she saw my small body so tied to my mother's body, and still she doubted, she had to say, "You better not lose him." And my mother kept that promise till she couldn't. She lost me in the new country. But doesn't that happen to all parents and their children one way or another? And don't we need to get lost? Lost, dizzy, stubbly, warm, stumbling, whoa. That's what it felt like, 17, kissing a boy for the first time. Can't forget it. Can't forget when my mother found out and said, this would never have happened if we hadn't come to this country. But it would have happened. Everybody's dizzy, lost, back in China. It didn't happen because of America, dirty Americans. It was me, my need. My father said, you have to change, but I couldn't. Can't give you up, boys in heat, scruff, and sweet. Can't get over you. Trying to get over what my writer friends said. All you write about is being gay or Chinese. Wish I had thought to say to him, all you write is about being white or an asshole. Wish I had said, no, I already write about everything, and everything is salt, noise, struggle, hair, carrying, kisses, leaving, myth, popcorn, mothers, bad habits, questions. So, I think I first read this poem when I was around 16 or 17, so that was like 5 or 6 years ago. And I remember thinking at first that the movie theater section of the poem had the biggest impact on me because I had a friend who started crying like really hard in the middle of a movie and couldn't stop for like an hour afterward. So I was just thinking about that part specifically. And then reading this again a few hours later, and also right now, I still love it a lot. Maybe even more because now I've seen more, so I see more in the poem too. And I also remember reading about someone saying that the best age and time to read poetry is when you're in your 20s at night and a little bit drunk, but I also like to think that poetry in general just gets better over time, like life. So yeah, I think this poem in particular is just shows his voice really clearly, and I really like it, and it reminds me a lot of high school too because of how youthful it feels. Like, this guy talks like me, but then when I read what he's saying, everything looks different afterwards. And I think that was like also around the age when I first started to get very interested in poetry too. So thanks, Chen. The third and final poem for today is Poplar Street. Oh, sorry. Hello. Are you on your way to work too? I was just taken aback by how you also have a briefcase, also small and brown. I was taken by how you seem secretly to love everything. Are you my new coworker? Oh, I see. No. Still, good to meet you. I'm trying out this thing where it's good to meet people. Maybe, beyond briefcases, we have some things in common. I like jelly beans. I'm afraid of death. I'm afraid of farting, even around people I love. Do you think your mother loves you when you fart? Does your mother love you all the time? Have you ever doubted? I like that the street we're on is named after a tree, when there are none, poplar or otherwise. I wonder if a tree has ever been named after a street, whether that worked out. If I were a street, I hope I'd get a good name, not Main or Pleasant. One night I ran out of an apartment, down North Pleasant Street. It was soft and neighborly, with pines and oaks. It felt too hopeful after what happened. After I told my mother I liked a boy, and she said, "No, you're sick. Get out before you get your brother sick." Sometimes parents and children become the most common strangers. Eventually, a street appears where they can meet again. Or not. Do I love my mother? Do I have to forgive in order to love? Or do I have to love for forgiveness to even be possible? What do you think? I'm trying out this thing where questions about love and forgiveness are a form of work I'd rather not do alone. I'm trying to say, let's put our briefcases on our heads in the sudden rain and continue meeting as if we've just been given our names. So I think Poplar Street is like a good segue from what we were talking about earlier, which is seeing things differently. I think what I like about this poem is that it sounds kind of like you're lying down at a sleepover, maybe. Like talking with someone that you don't know that well, but you're being really honest anyway. Kind of reminds me of that funny honesty that's always there when you're just starting college. But I'm not sure, because for me at least, there was definitely a period where I was suddenly aware that there were all these people who didn't know me, like at a party or whatever. So I could just say whatever I wanted to, which was good, and also sometimes not the best. But I have noticed that as university starts to end, that this feeling has gone away a little bit, because I've started to know people and to get to know people better, and also I've started to become more known. So in some ways that's good, some ways it's different, but I'm grateful to this poem as a reminder of this feeling, and also of states of being, which are temporary and also, most importantly, changeable. So, a reminder of if I wanted to call upon that weird courage I had in first year, then I could if I wanted to. Yeah, now it's got me thinking of what Audre Lorde said about her multiple identities, which I really love and believe in a good deal, and how in the modern day, usually how corporate requires you to create this like personal brand for yourself, where you have to narrow down like your specificities and like the interesting things about you, and the things that contradict each other into things that make sense and don't contradict and are digestible and sellable. Yeah, it's a cool reminder that you don't have to do that. Yeah, those were good poems. I feel like reading them out loud is very different from just reading them on the page. And I feel like a lot more present in, I think in general, like reading, it is an act of co-creation between like you and whoever wrote the piece that you're reading. But when you're reading it out loud, it's like very obvious that co-creation is happening. So it's a cool thing. So that is it for this episode. And actually it is the first episode of this, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.